Yep, we're good.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome to Money Monday. It's something, a new feature we're going to try to do with Representative Horman and myself, Senator Kevin Cook from District 32. We want to talk to you about your money.
We both serve on the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee. This is Senator Cook's second term. This is my fourth term on JFAC, and I'll be chairing the House Appropriation side. How are you adjusting to the workload of being the chairman of Commerce on the Senate side?
It is tough. Plus, starting out right now, I'm on the Outlook Committee, the Economic Outlook Committee, and the CEC, co-chairing those. So I am really busy, but it's
Maybe
good.
now's a great time to talk about what's going on. Economic Outlook Committee is a committee made up of legislators who listen to economists and industry sector leaders like tourism or hospitals or INL. John Wagner came over and testified in front of this committee. And then we make a determination about what revenue targets we should set to adjust our budgets to, so we don't spend over that limit.
Think about it like this. When you want to do a budget, you look at all your income. You look at what your salary is and how much money is coming in, and then you say, okay, based on that, here's our budget. So that's what we do at the state of Idaho. We are looking at all our revenue, but in order to figure that out, we've brought in all these really good, smart people on the economics from public sector, private sector, to look at it and see where we're at. And so at the end of that, we have everybody do a little bit of homework and to try and forecast what the revenue will be for the state of Idaho for the last 6 months of 2023 fiscal year, 2024 and 2025. And maybe just to focus on 2024, it was quite a range. So the low, we're saying that the revenue that comes into the state was $5,547.1 million. And the high was $6,754.9 million. And so that is a $1.2 billion difference, which was huge from what the LSO budget analysts are saying. It's usually 1 or 2 million difference, but it was big difference. And I think one of the reasons is because our expert testimonies, some were saying, go spend, 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 everything is great, and others were saying the sky is falling. So it was kind of tough.
A lot of uncertainty, I think, and I think we all feel that, right, with our own personal budgets. Is gas going to go down? Is it going to go up? How do you predict that? How do you budget for that? And so I think it's reflective of a lot of uncertainty. Is there a recession coming? Is there not? To be determined, but Senator Cook and I are always very conservative, on the very conservative side. Both of us were on the budget revenues. One of the questions we face is, even though we do have record surpluses, how much of that money does the state need to operate, and how much should be returned to the taxpayers who are making tremendous sacrifices in some cases to pay those taxes? So we're always looking to keep the smallest amount of government possible to get the job done.
There were arguments that says, yeah, we should make that revenue larger, okay? Because the bigger the revenue is, means we have more money to spend. So there's a lot of people saying, oh, let's spend more because it'll give us more money for roads and education and for hospitals and everything else. But the problem is if the economy does tank, then we're trying to make up for that. Like we're going to have to raise taxes, we're going to have to furlough people, lay people off. And so personally, you don't want to go too high or too low, but I'd lots rather send money back than start laying people off.
California is a really good example of this. They fell into the trap of thinking that all this inflated money that's in the system right now is going to be ongoing and permanent. They increased their budget by $100 billion. It's California, so remember that. But now they are facing a $25 billion shortfall because they appropriated those dollars for ongoing use, and it turns out it wasn't really ongoing money, it was one-time money. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on, is making sure that those funds that we do commit to are primarily one-time in nature outside of the basic functioning in government. Historic investments in parks is a really good example of something that's been proposed. Those are investments to use those funds in ways that will benefit us for generations to come, but not necessarily obligate us to massive ongoing expenses. In fact, it will probably reduce those budgets over time because the deferred maintenance and upkeep has been taken care of. So we're very much both fiscal hawks in that space.
It's been a very fun week as we started listening to all these experts that really knew their industry and just a lot of fun. We had people from the housing sector, real estate, agriculture, what you said, INL, so it was a lot of fun. The other big thing we did as well is the change in employee compensation. All of this kind of needs to be done up front before we start setting budgets. And so the other one that we did was change employee compensation. In other words, there's like 25, just under 2,500 employees in the state. 25,000, yes, that sounds better. 25,000. So Idaho is the biggest private, bigger than any private or public employer. And so it makes a difference. So we had to figure out, what do we do as far as what do we pay them? We have a problem with like any other business right now. We can't keep employees, and we can't hire them because they're going and working with McDonald's and places. So we have to figure out a way to do that. And so we've looked at compensation. What's a fair compensation for employees of the state of Idaho? And so we're in the middle of figuring that out, and that will be done probably in the next week or so. We got another meeting, I think, Wednesday, and then by next week we'll have our vote on a final value, and then that will go to JFAC, where we can reject it, accept it, come up with their own thing, and move forward from there.
So speaking of JFAC, we have a lot of new members on JFAC. Senator Cook's been doing a fantastic job of asking really good questions in committee. We know that's how we learn, is through asking questions. And so on the House side, we have 7 members that are new to the committee this year, 7 out of 10. 2 have previously served, 5 are brand new to the committee, and 4 are brand new to the legislature. So working with Senator Groh on the Senate side, we've really tried to put an emphasis on training and helping our members feel like they can hit the ground running. It does take some time to learn all the acronyms and the terms and that sort of thing, but we've spent the last week in the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee really focusing on big picture explanations of things like employee benefits or emergency requests for money, those sorts of big picture things, walking them through the budget process. The way it works is the first 6 weeks of session, we listen to all of the state agencies talk to us about what they've done with their existing money and their current money for the current budget year, and then why they need more. And we are allowing lots of time for question in those hearings so that our committee members will be able to learn through the Q&A process rather than agencies directors just taking all of the time. In fact, we had to have an agency director today and doubled the time he was taken, and we had to say we need to move on to the budget, and that's good. So we're working through the changes in there. Some of you may have seen some headlines about the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee starting to vote separately rather than jointly. Some folks are saying that means the sky is falling. I happen to disagree. Right now it takes 11 out of 20 members for the Joint Committee to vote, but if the 2 committees were to vote separately, it takes 6 of each, so that's 12. So I am not seeing it as a big deal. Personally, I know it is a change in tradition, but the clerk on the House side at least believes that because this joint committee is actually made up of 2 separate committees, that we should have been voting separately all along. It can be tough once a budget gets to the House floor if a majority of the House Appropriations Committee has not voted to support it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If you go into the Senate with a budget where not a majority of Senate Finance Committee has voted to support it, it can be tough to get the support you need on the floor. And so we're hoping this will be something that smooths out the budget process for budgets once they get into the House or the Senate.
It's interesting. I think the other thing about JFAC, I'll just say with Representative Horman, she mentioned the training. The training has been awesome. Remember, this is my second session or third year to be on JFAC. And there is still a huge amount of stuff to learn, just unbelievable. But the things that I learned this year in just part of the training, I thought, boy, if I would have learned that 2 years ago, how far ahead I would have been. So I really appreciate what our co-chaired Representative Horman and Senator Grove have been doing. It's just been really, really good and appreciated. But as we dive into the budgets, like I said, right now the agencies are starting to come and report what they want. Tomorrow is going to be huge. Tomorrow we've got the Department of Health and Welfare. So that's welfare, that's Medicaid, that's child welfare, that's all the wax. For the next 2 days, I believe, we've got them on board. And so that'll be a huge one to listen to and try to boil that down and figure out what do we need and what do we want. Want versus need. No different than your home budget, except this is
your money.
$4 billion, $6 billion budget. I guess $4 billion, right? Where are we at?
Yeah, I think it's over $4 billion,
$4 billion
in all funds.
Yeah.
A lot of federal funds in there and a lot of state funds in there too.
So a lot of money. It's kind of different.
One of the things that is happening though, when Medicaid expansion passed, we put in the law an automatic review of the program at 5 years, and that's the end of this month. And so the Senate Health and Welfare Committee and the House Health and Welfare Committee will be holding those hearings to review those budgets. One of the reasons I opposed Medicaid expansion is that I knew it would begin eventually to interfere with funding available for education. That has absolutely happened. It's growing on a trajectory that is not sustainable. Even at the high level of federal match, it's simply not sustainable. So we received a report that we paid for last year on things we could do to Medicaid to talk about cost containment. And so the germane committees will handle that, but in the meantime, we won't be doing any requests for additional money in the current budget year or the future budget year until we know what those germane, the health and welfare committees have decided to do in terms of any policy changes.
So we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
It is. JFAC is going to be very, very busy as we start looking at this stuff. So.
Yeah.
Good.
Teachers in town today, I know I was able to meet with some folks from District 91 and 93, talk to us a little bit. They really appreciated the health insurance money. That
was huge for the ones I talked to. They were just thrilled. So
yeah.
91 is on board, but I don't think 93 has done it yet, right?
Correct. But I have an example of a friend whose husband, she works in District 93 as a parapro. Her husband works in District 91. And because District 91 was able to go on the plan, she dropped off of District 93's insurance and went on to District 91's insurance with her husband, and then gets, I believe, a $400 stipend. So combined with the huge investments we put into classified staff salary last year, and that stipend, her take-home paycheck went up several $100s.
Yeah.
Well over $400 of the stipend. But so we know that the market is working, whether you got onto the state insurance plan or whether you just went out to bid and got a more competitive and higher quality plan. We know that that has worked to help teachers have more salary to take home at the end of the day.
They were thrilled, the ones I talked to. And they're thinking that there'll be, 40, 50 districts come on in July, July 1st, when the fiscal year starts again, that we'll have a whole bunch more districts coming on. So be huge. It's like a pay raise for our teachers. It really is. So it'd be very nice for them.
One other thing I just thought of, the page. So in the legislature, we have high school seniors who will come over for 6 weeks at a time and serve with the legislature. They are each assigned to a committee, and they'll do things like turn on the sound system, help get the agendas handed out, and the page for House Appropriations is actually a student from Hillcrest High School, Caleb, and he is sharp. I am telling you, I could tell already, so I'm already starting to have him help return phone calls of constituents who are calling in. Our time as becoming chairman, at least my calendar, it's
I had some every 30 minutes today.
I'm down to 15-minute meetings.
Crazy day.
Yeah. So they will help us out with things like that. So really excited to have Caleb from Hillcrest. My daughter was a page when I first ran back in 13 and 14, and she was the first ever page from Hillcrest High School. So thrilled to have another Hillcrest High School student here, learning government firsthand and serving you as well.
And we've got to have a Senate page, I think, from Bonneville High School the last 6 weeks of the session. So we'll be able to get 2 pages from our area. So that's exciting. It is something that it's really a neat opportunity. They are busy. They work, they come in there, it's expected to be here at 8 o'clock, and they don't leave until 5. They are running around, passing papers out, gathering things, and making phone calls. So it is a great opportunity for them to learn about state government. I think the only thing that really makes it tough for our pages in our area is they got to find their own housing. So if they don't have an uncle or an aunt or a family member, it makes it really tough. But they do pay them, and so they're not going to get super rich. But boy, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And they still have to keep up on all their schoolwork at home as well. So it looks like we have possibly some comments. Sorry, we're kind of on our own here today without tech support, so forgive me. I'm trying to look and see if there's any questions. I can't see anyone on there.
All right. Well, we're going to try and do this every Monday. And we don't want it to go for an hour or even maybe 30 minutes, but 15, 20 minutes I think is what we're hoping. But we would love to have comments, questions, phone calls, texts, messages, whatever. We want to be transparent to you. We want to talk about the money, about JFAC. That's what we're going to focus on is the money, since we both serve on there.
So post your questions on our Facebook pages or email them to us. Wendy Horman at house.idaho.gov.
Kevin Cook at
K-Cook, right?
K-Cook at senate.idaho.gov. Sorry about that. Too many email accounts.
Send us your questions and we'll do our best to be prepared to answer them. Thanks for taking time to join us today.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see ya.